say because.
All right, guys, it's pregame.tv. We're back with another Saturday college football play. It's a video best bet from Tony George, and we flew him in, the Big 12 expert. This is your conference, your neck of the woods. We're putting the pressure on you, Tony. Who do you like, and what's your number one reason why?
Well, I'll tell you what, I like Oklahoma in this game. One of the reasons why I like Oklahoma in this game is the fact they've had a bye week. They've had a week off to prepare for Kansas State. And by the way, this is a team that they've dominated. Over the past 5 seasons, they've won all 5 games by an average margin of 24 points per game. Now, on the other hand, Bill Snyder has made me miserable in my career because every time I go against this guy, you know, he pops up out of nowhere and wins big games that they shouldn't be winning. And Kansas State did a lot of that last year. And the reason why was their quarterback, Klein. He's an unbelievable quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback. He makes a lot of things happen. They had a little bit of an unconventional offense last year. This year, teams have been prepared for him. With Oklahoma and a week off, and Oklahoma, they haven't played anybody. You know, they've won their games 93-20. They haven't played anybody. But what I have seen out of Oklahoma is a balanced attack. And running back Damian Williams is making a difference this year. They really have not had a good running back since DeMarco Murray in there, and this kid has stepped up and done the job. Landry Jones, every bit as good as advertised up to this point. Now, it's a big step up in class for them, but remember last year, this is also a team last year, as good as Kansas State was last year, that they beat in Manhattan, in the Little Apple, 58-17.
Bryan, you get something on this one?
I have a couple concerns for Oklahoma. You go back the last 4 years, they've won their turnover margins 49, plus 49 the last 4 years. Last year, -2. This year, -1, playing 2 games against nobody. I do have some concerns there. I'm not a Landry Jones fan. I think he's the most overrated quarterback in college football. Kansas State's a great underdog. They're 13-5 ATS the last 3 years as a conference underdog, and 13-3 as a road underdog, 6-0 the last 2 years. So this is the spot for Kansas State. But you are the Big 12 expert. I don't have a play in this game. You say Oklahoma, that's a side I guess I'd have to take a look at.
I got a couple questions. One, you know, you talk about the quarterback, and there's no question the Kansas State quarterback, you know, I look at him and I call him a Tim Tebow that can actually throw the ball because he's more of a running back.
But when they throw.
Yeah, he's a running back at quarterback first. I mean, let's be honest, but he can throw the football. So, you know, create some different, you know, diversity for them on offense, and they've been lighting it up so far. I mean, they made Miami of Florida look sick. Now, Miami of Florida's got no defense at all, so, I mean, we got to put it in its parameters. But I've got one problem with this game that I keep looking at, and both of these teams brought back basically the whole nucleus of their teams from last year. Last year at Kansas State, Oklahoma was -13, and they killed them. Now they're coming home, and they're only -14. Why wasn't there a bigger adjustment from last year to this year with them, you know? Really, did Kansas State improve that much from last year that they made this kind of adjustment? Because off of last year, if you just do, you know, 3 points for home field, you're coming back. They should have been 19 points here.
Well, rule number one on that is the jury's still out on Oklahoma, I think, in a lot of people's minds, including odds makers, for the fact that you said they haven't played anybody. The other reason I think the line is held down is exactly what you said, because of that 52-point explosion that Kansas State had against Miami. Now, I will tell you this, in the 2 teams they played that were no-brainers, and Kansas State has won those games in big fashion, 138-43. But against Missouri State, late in the 3rd quarter, that was a 99 ball game. Against North Texas, no, Dan McCartney's coaching them, the old Iowa State coach, right. Who's good friends with Snyder. They were in that game until mid-3rd quarter, and in both those cases, those 2 schools have problems with depth, and that's when the depth and rotation that Kansas State just simply wore them down, and then they just, you know, dropped the hammer on them.
Okay, I'll make one last point. This one, you know, Kansas State has covered 6 straight as a road underdog. Bill Snyder, I mean, his teams are disciplined. They don't make mistakes. They stay in ball games, which is something you want if you're looking at the dog. That's a little bit of a concern laying the wood. We're going to wrap this one up, Tony. This is your best bet. Give me the official best bet and your final point as we close out.
Tony George here with your Big 12 play this week on Pregame TV. Bill Snyder has made a fool out of me many times in the past. He won't do it this week. I'm going to lay the heavy chalk with Oklahoma off a bye week against a team they have dominated the last 5 years, straight up and against the spread. Lay the 14. The Oklahoma Sooners bring K-State back down to earth this weekend.
All right, great stuff, Tony. We appreciate your Big 12 knowledge. We'll see how this game plays out. We're going to be back. We've got another college football game to take a look at. A pretty big game in the ACC coming up. We've got Clemson at Florida State. We've got some questions to answer. Is Florida State for real? And can Clemson slow down this team? We'll be back here on pregame.tv next.